Imagine helping a sick passenger to the bathroom thinking he just has the flu. 30 seconds later, he's vomiting blood trying to bite your face off. The plane makes an emergency landing, but here's the nightmare nobody tells you. The CDC isn't rushing to save anyone, they're sealing every exit, making sure nobody escapes alive. Because this isn't a medical emergency, it's a containment protocol, and the moment those airport doors lock shut, everyone trapped inside becomes unwilling test subjects in a government experiment measuring how fast infection spreads when there's absolutely nowhere to run. Flight attendants Jenny and Paula prepare for a late-night departure from Los Angeles while Captain Forrest and co-pilot Wilsey discuss the unusually small passenger count due to heavy thunderstorms. Wilsey swallows medicine because he's feeling sick. Passengers board including teenager George, who always flies alone, elderly Bev with her husband Dr. Kingston, whose severe Parkinson's prevents him from moving or speaking, nervous Army medic Shyla, cat owner Louise, germophobic pregnant couple Neil and Susan constantly wiping their seats, excited foreign tourists Forrest and Nika who barely speak English, and businessman Preston sneezing repeatedly from the same illness affecting Wilsey. Academic Henry boards last carrying a cage claiming it contains hamsters. Passenger Ralph helps him stow it overhead, but the cage won't fit, so flight attendants force Henry to check it in cargo hold. During the struggle, Ralph gets bitten on his thumb but thinks nothing of it. The plane takes off and Neil refuses, ending his phone call until Henry forcefully makes him hang up, causing both men to argue. Jenny separates them, warning about arrest upon landing. Henry then flirts with Jenny, bragging about his PhD and complaining about society's collapsing manners. Moments later, he watches news on his phone showing CDC has quarantined an entire apartment building in Los Angeles. Ralph suddenly feels terrible, asking for water while staring at the wound on his thumb. Jenny checks on him just as he explosively vomits all over her, with foam pouring from his mouth, screaming they need to land immediately. Louise's cat sneaks around unnoticed, eating vomit off the floor. Jenny leaves Paula handling Ralph while she cleans herself, but Ralph breaks free, charging down the aisle and violently pushing Jenny to the ground. He pounds on the cockpit door, frantically screaming for them to stop the plane. Wilsey follows protocol, locking the door while Forrest radios ground control about the medical emergency. Ralph attacks Henry, who can't overpower the crazed passenger. George tries helping and also fails. Finally, Preston, George, Paula, and Shyla work together, subduing Ralph and zip-tying his wrists. Shyla checks everyone for injuries while Jenny privately confesses to Paula she completely failed during the crisis. At that moment, Forrest announces he's been ordered to land and commands everyone to buckle up immediately. The plane shakes violently during emergency descent and attendants demonstrate crash positions. Ralph's unconscious body slides around, bumping his head, so Jenny and Paula struggle, dragging him to a seat. Paula fights with his seatbelt when Ralph's eyes suddenly snap open, glowing bright red, and he bites her nose, viciously ripping flesh. Blood sprays across the cabin as Ralph transforms into something inhuman and feral. Passengers rush forward, forcing the screaming Ralph into the bathroom and slamming the door shut, locking him inside. The plane finally touches down and Shyla uses the emergency medical kit, injecting Paula with shock prevention medicine while tying a scarf around her destroyed face, but she's losing dangerous amounts of blood and needs real medical attention fast. Forrest is furious when ground control orders them to wait at the gate despite knowing Paula's critical condition. He breaks protocol, deliberately choosing an unauthorized gate. Baggage handler Ed sees them coming and rushes to open the gate just in time. Forrest and Wilsey brace themselves against the bathroom door, holding it shut, while everyone except Bev and Kingston evacuates since the disabled couple needs assistance. Ed guides the panicked group toward the terminal exit, but discovers the door is locked with nobody responding on his radio. They're forced through an employee entrance into the airport's restricted staging area. Ed leads them upstairs to another exit, but every single door is locked, which never happens. Checking the electrical panel, he confirms they're under complete lockdown, with security cameras still recording everything they do. Passengers begin arguing loudly about what to do when emergency sirens suddenly wail outside. They look through windows, seeing ambulances and police cars arrive before workers cover the glass from outside. A voice over the intercom announces the entire group has been quarantined and must remain here until authorities arrive with help. Passengers frantically call their families, explaining the nightmare situation, then turn on Jenny, furiously blaming the airline. Shyla interrupts, pointing out her checked luggage contains a full medical kit that could keep Paula alive a few more hours. Jenny grabs Ed and several passengers, heading back to retrieve it, but all the power suddenly cuts out. Ed guides them with his flashlight back to the plane, where they discover both Wilsey and Forrest have completely vanished. Jenny opens the bathroom door and freezes, seeing blood coating every surface. Preston moves to grab his laptop and bumps into Kingston sitting alone in his wheelchair. Bev is gone, and when others question this, Kingston uses his eyes, pointing at Chewed through plastic restraints lying on the floor, meaning something violent escaped. Ed cuts through floor carpet, accessing a hatch leading directly into the baggage hold below. Jenny climbs down, retrieving Shyla's medical kit, while Neil Neil grabs a handgun from his own suitcase. A rodent suddenly scurries past Ed's feet, and he shouts it's a rat, but Henry insists it was just one of his escaped hamsters since he found the broken cage down there. As Jenny climbs back up, she notices Preston's laptop covered in blood at the corridor's end. Wilsey is running on all fours like an animal covered in blood and growling. Infected Captain Forrest suddenly appears behind Jenny, lunging at her violently. The men immediately rush out to help, but punches do absolutely nothing, so Neil shoots Forrest in the head, killing him as blood splatters across Neil's face. The group flees back toward the others and finds Kingston thrown from his wheelchair with unconscious Preston lying nearby, bitten deeply on his neck. Jenny discovers Bev sobbing and begging for help, but she suddenly transforms mid-sentence, attacking with inhuman rage and speed. Jenny barely outruns her, and the men desperately slam the door shut, locking the creature outside. They return to the main group, and Shyla does her best treating Paula's wounds, while Susan carefully wipes infected blood off Neil's face before they kiss despite the obvious danger. Henry and Ed stack furniture, barricading the door against Bev, while Jenny notices fresh blood drops on the floor, worrying about where they came from. Jenny finally snaps, ordering everyone to shut up and stop arguing because she's taking command now that the captain is dead. Shyla explains this infection isn't any disease she's ever seen, and Jenny remembers the quarantine department building from the news broadcast earlier. Kingston notices a rat with glowing red eyes approaching, but his Parkinson's prevents him from making any sound to warn others. The rat jumps directly onto Kingston's head, biting him before George knocks it away. The men quickly capture the diseased rat in a bucket while Shyla bandages Kingston's fresh wound. The group decides to lock both George and Paula inside a storage crate in case the infection spreads to them. Ed uses a protective glove, examining the captured rat closely, and finds a small tag attached to its leg, proving it escaped from a laboratory somewhere. George immediately accuses Henry of lying about the hamsters because he's absolutely certain he saw long tails in that cage earlier. Henry vehemently denies this, and Jenny pulls him aside, privately demanding the complete truth. He swears he's innocent, pointing out laboratory rats would never pass through airport security checks, as they embrace for comfort. Infected Ralph suddenly bursts out from somewhere, attacking Jenny while Henry desperately tries stopping him without success. Others hear the screaming and rush in, combining their strength to strangle Ralph with a thick hose until he finally stops moving. Ed's radio crackles to life with a message saying CDC has finally arrived, and the group gathers hopefully at the door, but 4 heavily armed officers enter instead of letting anyone out. They immediately hold everyone at gunpoint while confiscating the rat and Neil's weapon before approaching Paula and Kingston with syringes. The officers inject both of them with different colored substances, claiming it's standard protocol. They then demand everyone else must also submit to mandatory injections. Louise nervously volunteers to go first, but before the needle touches her skin, her cat appears out of nowhere, biting her neck deeply before running away. An officer opens fire at the fleeing cat, missing every single shot as Kingston suddenly transforms and attacks one officer, biting him savagely. The other officers shoot Kingston down immediately and try dragging their infected partner toward the exit, but discover the door has been locked from outside. They shoot the lock open and flee into the terminal, while Ed impulsively follows them out. Police waiting outside immediately open fire, killing everyone except one officer who only gets shot in the leg. The group drags the wounded officer back inside, just as infected screams echo much closer, forcing everyone to hide inside a large shipping container. Susan stops moving when she notices Neil foaming at the mouth, so others have to physically drag her in while explaining he's already infected and transforming. After sealing themselves inside, Shyla notices each injection had completely different colors, meaning this wasn't protocol but deliberate experimentation on human subjects. Henry suddenly reveals he grabbed a gun off one of the dead officers and forces the wounded man to explain everything he knows. The officer admits he's not actually CDC but works for CBDT, which is Chemical Biological Domestic Terrorism Organization operating under Homeland Security. Their unit responded to that quarantined Los Angeles apartment earlier today, discovering a bioterror laboratory hidden in the attic. Some doomsday cult was attempting to develop a cure based on a single survivor, but accidentally made the virus far worse instead. This entire quarantined group at the airport was deliberately selected as the cult's next round of human trial subjects. After confirming the rats definitely carry the weaponized disease, the officer grabs Henry's gun and shoots himself in the head. Nika has a complete breakdown, sobbing uncontrollably, while Ed suddenly remembers this old terminal has an abandoned drainage tunnel they could use to escape if they can find it. Infected Wilsey appears on top of the container, reaching down and grabbing Ed's hand, trying to pull him up. Henry aims his gun, discovering he has no bullets left, so Ed yells at George to push the control button. George hits it, and the container lifts, crushing Wilsey's body against the ceiling beam, killing him. The group quickly exits, and Ed guides them through the dark staging area, while Jenny realizes Henry has completely disappeared. Nika walks at the very back when something grabs her from the shadows, dragging her away, screaming, so everyone runs upstairs desperately. Henry is secretly accessing a bag he'd hidden earlier, containing another fully loaded gun. Jenny trips over debris, finding transformed Paula crawling toward her. She accepts her friend is permanently gone, and fights the creature with a heavy wrench until finally pushing it off a high platform, killing it. The group reaches an office and searches through terminal blueprints, discovering a wall passage that leads directly to the drainage tunnel system. George reveals he stole Henry's suspicious bag, finding detailed laboratory experiment documents and a mysterious locked box inside. Infected Susan and Neil suddenly find them attacking, but Henry appears from nowhere, shooting both of them dead just in time. Ed notices Henry has a fresh bite wound, and George uses this distraction to force open the box, revealing medicine vials and a syringe. Henry finally confesses everything, admitting he deliberately brought the infected rats, explaining he's a member of the same cult the officer mentioned. Their ultimate goal is cleansing the entire planet from destructive humanity that keeps growing more violent. Henry threatens to immediately kill Jenny unless George hands over the antidote, so Ed heroically jumps on Henry, getting shot through the chest and dying. The terrified survivors let Henry take the antidote, which he mixes with blood from his own wound and injects directly into his eye, while explaining his cult has loyal followers planted inside various government organizations who helped him smuggle the weaponized rats past all airport security. Henry prepares leaving and grabs George as his human hostage. Jenny tries desperately stopping him, but he brutally knocks her unconscious and escapes with the boy and stolen blueprints showing the tunnel route. Jenny struggles standing up, extremely dizzy, so Shyla exits first to scout ahead. Several minutes later, Jenny finally emerges, and infected Preston immediately spots her, giving chase. She barely escapes his grabbing hands, kicking him hard away, then lures him into heavy machinery, bashing his skull with a metal hatch repeatedly until he's dead. She continues desperately searching for George, taking a different route when she spots transformed Nika standing in the shadows nearby. Jenny enters another room and bumps directly into Shyla, who managed to retrieve thermal vision goggles from the dead officer earlier. Shyla straps them onto Jenny's head, revealing she's been bitten and infected, so she asks Jenny to save George while she buys precious time. Shyla returns to the main staging area, talking very loudly, deliberately attracting all remaining infected who swarm her position, tearing her apart. Jenny finds the wall hole Henry created to access the drainage tunnel, and as she approaches, infected Louise grabs her from behind. Jenny beats Louise with the wrench until she collapses unconscious. She walks carefully between the walls, noticing blood drops on the ground, glowing through thermal vision. She spots small animals moving, but realizes they're just harmless mice, not the dangerous lab rats. Following Henry's blood trail, Jenny finds his discarded blueprints and bloody shirt beside a ladder descending deep into the drainage tunnel system. She looks down, finding George, who frantically explains the antidote completely failed and Henry transformed anyway despite injecting it. Ignoring George's desperate warnings, Jenny climbs down and immediately sees blood dripping onto her goggles. Transformed Henry attacks from the darkness, throwing her around violently as she struggles defending herself with whatever strength remains. George grabs the thermal goggles and finds the dropped gun, shooting Henry multiple times. Jenny recovers the goggles and finishes Henry off with a brutal wrench blow, crushing his skull. At that exact moment, massive flames appear far below, meaning cleanup teams outside are burning down the entire terminal to sterilize it. The main exit is completely blocked, but Jenny discovers a narrow baggage conveyor tunnel and kicks the access lid open. George is absolutely terrified, so she gives him the thermal goggles and lets him crawl through first for safety. Distant explosions rock the entire building as they desperately crawl through the tight tunnel. Jenny grows increasingly exhausted and realizes she's fully infected now. George turns around, seeing her violently vomiting, but refuses to abandon her. Jenny pretends she'll keep following just to give him courage to escape. They finally reach the tunnel exit, which is blocked by metal bars. George's small body slips through the bars easily, but when he turns around to help transform, Jenny reaches through, trying to attack and bite him. She's too large to fit through, and George escapes by quickly removing his jacket from her grip. George emerges outside the airport, finally free and alive, while Louise's infected cat also escapes into the night, heading toward the city, spreading the weaponized virus even further. If you're still watching, this means you survived the full story. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.